Taoiseach, the impact of the flooding continues to be devastating for many households, for many farmers and many communities across the country. And there have been many complaints about a basic lack of preparedness for events of this kind. And I think it's fair to say, Taoiseach, that storms and floods of this ferocity are happening with greater regularity and frequency. And we need to prepare better as a country for such events. We need to respond better and urgently, in particular, accelerate the installation of flood relief protection schemes across the country. In short, Taoiseach, we need a comprehensive, coordinated and sustainable response. And there have been many complaints across the country that that's not there. And Bandon and Ballinasloe in particular stand out. Ballinasloe being told that 2009 was a once-in-100-year event. They now know that's not the case. We learned yesterday that Minister Harris sought a 15-strong expert long-range flood warning unit within Met Éireann at a cost of £2.5 million. But the obvious question is, why not 12 months ago? Why not 2 years ago? Was such, because you said it yourself in 2012 that such a unit was needed, Taoiseach, and clearly it wasn't done. But Taoiseach, it's been the fourth time now. I think the biggest issue, Taoiseach, where we really need a game changer in terms of policy change is in insurance cover for flood risk areas. It's a key issue for businesses, homes and farmers. It's the fourth time since 2009 that flooding of this nature has occurred. And many people are no longer insured or cannot get any insurance at all. And so, Taoiseach, it's interesting that when you look at what happened in the United Kingdom government back in 2013, along with the insurance industry, agreed to develop a not-for-profit scheme, FloodRay, to allow flood insurance to remain widely affordable and available while allowing a sustainable transition to risk-reflective pricing over 25 years. That was followed up by the Water Act of 2014, which put legislative flesh on that particular bone. So the UK government's intention was to, and preferred option was to ensure the continued availability of flood insurance to households, to flood risk households across the UK. And they responded in kind. Now, Taoiseach, the question fundamentally is this: has the government had any engagement with the insurance industry on such a scheme, and will the Irish government now commit to replicating the UK government approach to insurance in flood areas, which I think would reflect the proactive, coordinated and comprehensive response that I mentioned earlier in my remarks?
Thanks, Deputy Martin. Clearly, the impact of a flood in any household or business is absolutely devastating, and as everybody knows, it ruins the building, the property, the premises, and destroys people's care and attention and pride for their houses and for their businesses. That goes without saying. I might say to you, the situation has brought about an enormous response in terms of community. Now, for its part, the National Coordination Committee has been meeting for the last number of weeks. The warning was relayed in good time in this case, and there has been a coordination of community, of civil defence, of Gardaí, of local authorities, of Office of Public Works, now the Red Cross and everybody else, visible all over the country in terms of the assistance and the help that's been given. The latest request is that the Defence Forces have responded to all requests received from the principal response agencies. That's involved deployment to 8 different counties, comprising over 200 Army personnel, 34 vehicles and an Air Corps helicopter. Minister Harris is available both to speak about the issues of the past, the immediate response, and what the projections are for the future in terms of schemes that are under construction, schemes that are under design, and the timescales that are envisaged in all of these. Minister Harris goes to Bandon next week. I expect he will bring the Red Cross personnel with him, have a meeting with the business. have a meeting with the business people in Bandon and talk about those, the issues that are there. Obviously, as you're aware, Deputy Martin, there was some legal objections to the tendering process there. They're cleared now. Money's in place for that particular scheme to go ahead in 2016, and I expect that to be adhered to. I expect the Minister to travel to other locations, Galway and Crossmolina the week after, bring the projected designs for what's envisaged there, meet the people and discuss what can happen now and for the medium term.
Thank you.
I would say, Deputy Martin, that the government yesterday made a decision to put $5 million up front in respect of the business premises that are flooded and that are within the context of the Office of Public Works flood areas. The Department of Defence are coordinating this with the Red Cross, and that's actually happening today, so that I would hope that there will be a structure in place that will allow for prompt payments to be made here based on assessments of what the damage has been. Clearly, with the Shannon continuing to rise and other difficulties for bridges and roads and so on like that, these are issues that need to be and will not be able to be assessed until it clears. Finally, Cancora, I'm aware of the situation in Britain. This is a not-for-profit operation, and it's been focused on by the British government for quite some time. I'm not sure, Deputy Martin, whether it's as successful as people might have imagined, but it's something that we would like to look at here. People who have businesses, who had insurance or who didn't have insurance, even behind flood defences where they're working in Clonmel or Mallow or Fermoy, still can't get insurance, and that's obviously an issue. And that's why in this case we would like the $5 million to be made available for businesses that have been flooded and they're so short a time before Christmas bring this upon them.
No disrespect, but your reply confirms the basic point I've been making. The lack of preparation, the lack of urgency, the lack of any coordinated and comprehensive response. The centrepiece of my question was an insurance scheme similar to that introduced by the United Kingdom with the British insurance industry, which would provide long-term sustainable insurance cover for households, families and businesses in flood risk areas. And all you can say, Taoiseach, despite the fact that we've had increasing storms of greater severity than we've ever had before, more regularly, all you can say now is, I would like to look at it. And my point is, Taoiseach, the question I asked you is, have you engaged with the insurance industry in Ireland on such a scheme for Ireland? And why haven't we seen it?
Sorry.
Because the legislation was passed in 2014. That is the bill.
Sorry, would you put your question?
That is the legislation. And the point is the British government went at this much earlier than anything we have seen from this government. And it's too late to be going down to Bandon next week. It's a bit too late.
Would you put your question in the meantime? Thank you.
But it's been flooded. The point I'm making, the flooding has happened, Taoiseach.
Sorry, you're over time.
What's disgraceful, Taoiseach, is what's disgraceful is that the flood relief scheme was not in place. And
sorry, Deputy, you haven't heard me. Would you please put your question? You're way over time.
The problem, Taoiseach, is this. The problem with this, Taoiseach, is...
It's not the problem, it's your question,
facetious remarks, Minister Harris. The point is, for the people who were flooded, my point is, they feel that if the flood relief scheme was put in 2 years ago, they wouldn't have experienced what they experienced last week. And we can quote all the legal things and all the rest of it. The bottom line, there was a lack of urgency in relation to getting these things in place.
Thank you.
The other ones you're talking about were done before your time. So, Taoiseach,
thank you.
I asked you, are you committed?
Would you please, I'm asking you, would you please resume your seat? Thank you.
Or the scheme similar to UK? And would you accept legislation to be enacted in relation to that? Because I think it's a good idea and it makes sense for the long term.
The answer to your question is the answer to the question about being committed. The answer.
Sorry, would you ever stay quiet there, please?
The answer to that question is yes. The government remain committed to dealing with this, both in the short term, the medium term, and the longer term. As you're well aware, thank you. As you're well aware, the government have put $1 billion over the next 10 years for flood relief works, and they're planned for 300 locations around the country. Now, even you know Even you know this. You're not expecting me to answer here to say that the government should have gone ahead and put the flood works into Bandon, despite the fact that there was a legal objection going through the court system. You're not expecting that now. And you know well, Deputy Martin, it's a disgraceful comment for you to make that those people in Bandon, business people and house people, should not be visited by the Minister for the Office of Public Works. And
thank you.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Sorry, Taoiseach.
Yes, you did. You said there's no point. No,
sorry.
Politics with it now.
Taoiseach, would you please resume your seat? Thank you.
You're playing politics with it now. You're playing politics with it now for notice.